Who likes tight ends?
I like tight ends.
That's right. Yahoo Fantasy Football tight ends. We're going to talk about the very unusual position to draft. So we're going to only talk briefly one video here about some of your tight end options.
Obviously, if you can get him, take Dallas Clark because
he's the best.
He is the best.
Him and Antonio Gates are neck and neck.
Or Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates is great too. Either of those guys, if you want to, there's two situations I see with drafting really high tight end. One is if you got a really, really high pick, and you've got your wide receivers and your running backs and your quarterback before everybody else is done doing that. You look over the tight end situation, snag Dallas Clark or Antonio Gates.
Well, I think Clark and Gates are worth taking in the first or second round. I really do, because if you have a great tight end, you're going to beat those teams in at least that one slot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams are going to have subpar tight ends.
Yeah.
I personally have used Antonio Gates the last 2 seasons. He's been an excellent return. Dallas Clark is another excellent return.
Yeah.
So they're worth taking in the first or second round. Beyond that, you're really taking a chance if you're taking a guy high.
Yes, you're taking a chance. Yes, I completely agree there. Vernon Davis is number 3 for tight ends.
He's the one that bridges the gap between the elite tight ends and the
he broke out last year, but
bottom feeder.
But as we've mentioned, there are problems with that with Alex Smith, so you don't know how much.
He is Smith's number 1 passing option, I think, and
Yeah.
I think he still winds up getting more touchdowns than Crabtree.
Probably.
I'll say that right now.
Probably. I think you're absolutely right. Jermichael Finley from Green Bay is a solid option for a lower round pick.
The problem with that is they've also got Spencer Havner, who's emerged from the defense to become a tight end, and Donald Lee, who is not going away. So with so many options,
going away?
So many options in the Packers passing game, Finley could be bust or boom.
You know how many points?
But he's worth taking high if you've got some of your other positions in place.
During a brief period of time I had Donald Lee last year, you know how many points he got me?
2.
Negative 0.4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You're the lowest scoring team in tight ends.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, well, it's because I was out looking at them. I wasn't using them.
Hence why it might be worth it to make sure you get a decent tight end.
Jason Witten, I think, is a really great option.
Romo's shown Romo really trusts Jason Witten, and if they do have some
good,
if
Dallas is good.
If they do have injury or ego issues at wide receiver, Witten steps up even higher. So he might be somebody that you would take in maybe the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah. Brent Selleck for Philadelphia stepped up a lot last year. I'm not sure how he's going to do under Cobb.
I think he's going to do better because Cobb is going to be asked to do less than McNabb did.
Okay. Well, that's probably good for him.
That benefits tight ends.
A lot of people talking about Tony Gonzalez over in Atlanta. Older guy, but still can play.
He can still ball.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stretch on him at all. If you've already got a good quarterback, a good running back, a good wide receiver, or at least 2 of those 3, then maybe go for him if you want to make sure you don't have to deal with waiver wire tight ends for the rest of the season. He's definitely reliable.
You don't want that. From one who knows, you don't want that.
You do not want to be shopping for Carolina's number 2 tight end to fill in a hole. So, if you're willing to value your tight end position higher, he's one of those guys that you'd want to do it with.
Owen Daniels from Houston.
He's great. I think he might actually have a better season than Gonzalez. With that being said, though, you're talking about tight ends. So he's probably their number 2 passing option, which is good because Johnson's going to draw a lot of coverage, and Schaub's not going to be a deep ball guy on every play. So he might be somebody worth taking rounds 3 through 6.
You've got Kellen Winslow playing for Tampa Bay.
Terrible option.
Yeah, don't do that. If you're not like us and you are willing to take Vikings, Basante Shanko is
He's
great
Favre's
option.
guy.
Yeah.
Favre has always been a tight end guy. He loves finding a good tight end. Bringing up the value in a tight end that maybe isn't as valued by other teams. Shanko's going to be a great option if Favre comes back.
Yeah, assuming that prick does in fact come back. John Carlson from Seattle.
He's a good tight end. I just don't know what his role is going to be in their offense. Hasselbeck had a hard time finding him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
He's a good tight end, but he's not going to be consistent. So you're already getting into the range where these tight ends may or may not bring you consistent value. So you might want to wait to pick these guys.
Yeah, like Zach Miller from Oakland.
He might be their best wide receiver as far as I'm concerned.
Maybe.
And Campbell's going to look for somebody who can catch. I think he's the most reliable guy catching balls for the Raiders. So he might be worth taking a pick on.
Yeah, it's interesting how this is going down because you got Carlson, you got Miller, we got Chris Cooley from Washington.
If he's not hurt, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
Because McNabb does use his tight ends, and Cooley could benefit from a really good wide receiver
and
or
then,
a good quarterback throwing to him.
Below them, you've got Greg Olsen and Dustin Keller, who I think are two of the elites as far as tight ends are concerned. Not obviously at the level of Clark and Gates, but Greg Olsen and Dustin Keller are very good. Keller, in particular, might be a bit of a sleeper simply because he is on the Jets, and he's their starting tight end. He's very good at what he does. Olsen is phenomenal. I think Olsen's a totally decent pick.
The problem you have with them is they're great tight ends, but tight ends don't always convert to fantasy points.
Right.
So Olsen could emerge as a great option for Cutler to throw to. At the same time, he could just be a great tight end.
Right.
That doesn't bring you a whole lot of points week in and week out.
Yeah. After Olsen and Keller, you've got Mercedes Lewis over in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville struggled with the idea of making him their number one tight end. He does get a lot of looks because of Jacksonville's unusual, confusing offensive decision making. But at this point, you're taking a tight end to fill a slot because you've drafted everywhere else.
Right. If you're getting this desperate, then Mercedes Lewis, Todd Heap, Baltimore.
He might get some looks,
solid
but
option.
They've got some better options at wide receiver now in Baltimore, so his value could drop.
Brandon Pettigrew's over in Detroit. He'll probably get a little bit.
I think he might actually be better than Heap for once.
Yeah. You've got Anthony Fasano over in Miami, who tends to be a fantasy sleeper. Not sleeper, but just bad.
You'll probably have to take a guy like this if you haven't taken a tight end by this point. He's not terrible, but I don't think he's going to be carrying you to victory.
Right. You've got Jermaine Gresham in Cincinnati.
No, I'm not high on him.
Benjamin Watson's over in Cleveland. He wasn't that great when he was with the Patriots, so I don't know what he's going to do for the Browns.
He's a veteran, though, so he could see more opportunities.
Well, I mean, when I say he wasn't that great, I meant as far as fantasy ability goes. I should know I had him.
But they're going to have Delhomme throwing, and Delhomme was not a tight end guy.
Yeah.
He did not look for his tight ends very much in Carolina, so that could carry over to Cleveland, too.
Will Heller is the second tight end over in Detroit. I wouldn't look for anything special there.
I would not get in the middle of the Detroit Lions tight end battle with your fantasy roster.
Heath Miller is over in Pittsburgh. He's done a few things.
He's a decent option. He might actually see some more looks with the quarterback situation being iffy for the first couple months of the season. But
and I think Jeremy Shockey could have some value in New Orleans.
Yeah,
because he definitely
he's part of that wide array of Saints options.
Yeah, exactly.
Weapons, so he could have big weeks.
The thing about the Saints is that if you pick somebody from the Saints, you know they're going to get some points, just not all that.
You're not sure when. It could be on a week where you don't need the points, and that ends up being a problem. Or the week that you need points, they wind up not showing up.
And if you're going lower than that for your tight end situation, then you probably need some mental assistance.
Or you're him last season.
Shut up. Just because I ended up with Bo Scaife as my starting tight end.
Oh, man. Bo Scaife.
Alright, we shall return with what? Kickers? Is that what we're doing next?
Let's go to kickers.
Kickers.
Don't take anybody else at tight end.